Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to another episode of What They Don't Tell You. I'm your host, Jacob, along with the other host,
Aiden, and we're here to bring you our perspective on news, facts, culture, and what we believe to be true.
Alright guys, in today's episode, we're going to be talking about two different things. We're going to be talking about the Jimmy Kimmel canceling and uncanceling and awkward apology. And then also we're going to be talking about our thoughts on the Charlie Kirk Memorial in Phoenix, Arizona. So Aiden, you ready for this?
I think so.
Yeah.
This the first one's a little weird. The first topic's...
It's interesting. Before we get into it, I'm just going to go ahead and throw the video up. So let's throw that up. Sure. And then this is the first one. This is when he actually got canceled. So, and then we'll play the apology in a little bit.
We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points.
Yep, that sounds good.
All right, so you guys just saw that was the incident where he actually got canceled, allegedly. His studio was getting cleared out by a bunch of moving trucks. People were seeing things. He was taken off air indefinitely for a while. And Aiden, you want to give him a little bit more of the rundown?
Yeah, so there's reasons why I don't feel like it's fully justified. I don't know. Here's the thing. People complain like, oh, it's canceling when they get fired or when they do this, that. That's not canceling. I'm just going to be honest. You have freedom of speech, right? But that doesn't mean you're free from the consequences of your speech. So if you say something that your employer doesn't like or doesn't want to support within his or her company, then they are within their rights because they can fire you for about anything. It doesn't really matter.
Because you're representing them.
Because you're representing them. So if they don't like that for their name, then they're not going to keep you around. So that's not canceling. That is still the free market. That's how we operate. Now, when the government steps in, then, you know, you have a little bit of a different argument. So this is the FCC. And the FCC in these cases has a tentative argument for their choice to remove Kimmel's show or to take action against Kimmel's show. Anyway, I mean, ABC still technically pulled it, but I think it was because of FCC regulation. And the FCC regulation, again, I am never going to be a fan of subjective law. Like, if it's a law, it should be very targeted, very specific. You see issues in every kind of law when it's not very specific, typically, unfortunately, because every exploitation known to man will come about with that law. So I think that when the FCC's guidelines are like, they have a news distortion policy. Well, it qualifies as news distortion. And I will say, Kimmel misled his audience, right? We have evidence and verifiable proof, and that corresponds, you know, with reality and is justified that he lied, right? I mean, when we think about it, is his statement, is his proposition confirming something that corresponds with reality? And we see no, his statement is it's MAGA. No, it's not. It's the far left, so that contradicts itself, right? So. And we have evidence and proof of this. It is misleading the audience. Now, does that qualify as news distortion? I would say to some degree, yes, it does. But that doesn't mean I think it's right for the government to step in at times where maybe that feels a little bit unnecessary and a little bit provocative to the other side. Because what happens when you're the party you don't like gets in on either side of the board,
exactly, and
then you get canceled for the stuff you're saying. That shouldn't happen. There's some regulation I think that we can keep in mind. I do think that it is different when someone dies. Like, someone was murdered. You're misleading your audience over who murdered them and kind of whitewashing the whole thing for the side that actually did. Is that going to be helpful or productive to society, or is that going to create more violent people? I can understand the argument there, but I still don't think the government should, per se, like, have that kind of role. I think that's a dangerous route to go.
And I think we saw that this actually did make an impact. I think we personally got several comments that were saying, what are you talking about? This guy, Tyler Robinson, was a right-wing, conservative, Republican, MAGA, Trump supporter. I'm like, first off, if you actually look at the facts, it's his parents and his family were the right-wing Trump supporters. I don't even know if they really stated that they were Trump supporters. But this dude was literally living with his boyfriend. Like, he's a freaking trans boyfriend, furry guy. I don't even know what it is.
We are, as Charlie said, pro-reality. So, again, we're not here to turn you away, but it's pretty bad. And we've seen evidence of the violence and the mental illness behind it that can really hurt and be effective, you know, to those people.
And I think we see it's getting worse. I think that, like, I swear we say this every episode, but it comes back to the education system, and it really does. And And I think it's cool to, like, I think we're both homeschooled, so it's like we're really seeing the effects where we're going this way while I watch some of the people I know in public school go, like, way out here,
but
you know? And I
think
think
it lacks critical thinking. I really do. I'm not going to try to criticize people for that, but you need to be getting to the roots and layers of the actual issue. And instead, they see the surface in their echo chamber, which I'm not saying I don't personally live in a sort of echo chamber, right? I give myself or subscribe to people that I believe are telling the truth. I read things that I believe are telling the truth. That doesn't mean, though, that I'm unaware of the other side's propositions or unaware of the other side's ideologies. I understand there is an element to, and I don't want to say know your enemy. I know that can be divisive, but right now with the terrorist groups and stuff, like, right, I try to learn about where do they come from, why do they have this, what are the potential,
what are the reasons,
mental illnesses that lead to these instances, you know, all those things. So I do go out of my way to try to understand where the other side is coming from, and I don't like what I see right now.
No, not at all. And again, I want to clear it up. I'm not saying, because again, I know several friends that go to public school. Yeah. I know several teachers that teach at public schools, and they're not all corrupt, right? We see a lot of it in these like inner cities and like big high schools that have these propagandas that are like they're getting a lot of money and stuff like that. But like I know a lot of people that are in the public school system that are good. They're Christian. They speak good stuff and they're light in that area. But overall, I believe that it's not going in the right direction.
Yeah, because when you have, you know, you have to try to get to the root of why were they radicalized, or why are they transitioning either. You know what I mean? In certain cases, like with this, it's like it's a I think it's a deep hurt, if I had to guess. There's a lot of heart for that, but I don't have a lot of heart for shooters, and so it's in this case. I'm gonna say that, yeah, there's a root cause of mental illness that happens within us. It seems. To get away from all that and back to Kimmel, think that there's an argument to be made for the government as to its legality. I don't know if there's an argument to be made for the government as to its morality.
Right. Because I think, and you could even see it, and we're gonna talk about the memorial later on. But when Trump was like, I know Erika said we've got to love everybody, but I hate my enemies. They must die. He was like, he didn't say that, but the point is like, it's more like he's just getting it done, and he might have to cross a few boundaries, but he's more of the, I don't care who I step on the toes in the process, but I'm going to get it done more than, and I think that's kind of what you're getting at.
I don't know if we should say that or not.
Say what? We might
get canceled.
For what?
I'm not, I know like the point you're making. I don't know if we should gotta be really careful with what we say regarding die in any sense right now.
Yeah, true.
I just don't want.
We might get canceled from our own party, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't want to. You know what I mean?
Yeah, all right. I'll edit.
And other times it might be like, oh, ha. You know, I get what he's saying.
Right.
I get what he's alluding to. Right now, we might get shot.
All right. We'll go back on that one.
Sorry, I wasn't trying to call you back.
No, you're good.
I felt weird. Like I got what you were trying to get at for sure.
Right.
I don't know if everyone else is going to. You know when people see like clips and stuff, and then they're like, look at what they said.
Yeah.
You know, like.
But like in the memorial, Trump was like, I might not care much for my enemies as long as I get the job done. And I'm like,
yeah,
I get like where he's coming from, but it's still sometimes it's like, where's the morality in that compared to the, like, you know what I mean? So it's like,
yeah, I guess it depends. We're ideological enemies. I mean, honestly, like we're two very different viewpoints. Unfortunately, they've been indoctrinated. I would say colleges have had a lot to do with that. We'll probably get into that at some point, actually, but we're trying to stay on Kimmel right now, and you know how good I am at moving to each and every other topic that might even distantly relate to it. Want to talk about aliens? I mean, that might...
Sure.
All right. Okay. So, getting back to Kimmel, though, again, I see the argument for the FCC. What do we think about when is government overstepping their bounds like too far? Like we think about civil liberties and civil rights. When is it that we say, well, like how do we regulate something? Like if the government's overstepping a bounds, how do we get it to pushback? What's the best argument to be made here? Should he have gotten pulled? Should it have just been ABC? Is ABC responsible for doing that because technically they do fall under FCC regulation? Like what are your thoughts here?
I think it comes back to, again, you're representing the company that you work for. Yeah. And I think, again, if he's saying things that aren't factually true, then people are going to start taking him as where's his actual information coming from.
Yeah.
And then I also want to talk, like you said, like where should we draw the line for the government? I feel like I want to, like, it's hard because maybe right now Charlie Kirk was supporting the people that we have in government currently, but what happens when we don't have somebody that appreciated Charlie or something like that? Then they're just like,
value.
Yeah, keep saying that because we don't want them to be, you know what I mean? Or like, I feel like there has to be some sort of point where it's like, okay, when you're spreading rumors about things that are actually like, okay, I don't care if you're like, oh, Jim Bob missed the extra point the other day and he didn't.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care, whatever. Sure. But like when it's coming to like life and death and actually like putting names on people's families, on people's companies, you know what I mean? Like that's when I'm like, okay, can we please at least give the truth, and then you can spout off whatever the reason you think it might not.
It is hard. I don't like the not to cut you off. I just think I don't like the subjectivity of the law, as it feels very like, well, it feels a little bit more like, okay, when does the FCC decide you're distorting news? I think it does technically have to be above, like, it can't be a minor misreport. So if he had been like, for example, let's say Kimmel had been like, we don't know what gun he used, we think it was this. That would have probably fallen under a minor misreport, and they weren't going to be like, pull the show. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I can understand that.
Right.
There is a point where I think overall I don't like it. I think overall, even if it fits well under the law, there's sometimes where the law is not moral or not useful to the people. And in this case, I think it actually potentially is worse. For us, I don't think it's helpful to us.
And
I want to regulate this, even if it does fall under this law. This law does not seem very helpful to me. I'm just being honest.
I have 2 points I want to make, and I want to get your thoughts on one of them. But I want to say first off, when this happens, right? When this canceling people, cancel culture happens, are we justified to do what they did to us during the Biden administration? Because we saw this a lot when Meta was regulating free speech, things like that, right? And Elon bought Twitter because of that, right? And I feel like, is this something that we're like, can we just fight it back when we're in office, like when the conservatives are in office, and then whenever the Democrats are in office, they just throw back in, it's just an ongoing battle? Or are we going to be the bigger man here and just not do it and potentially get ran over, like, you know what I mean? Like, get stomped on when they keep canceling us and we're never fighting back. So like,
I guess it just depends. I think, and I shouldn't even say it depends. I think right now we have it's over Biden. I have the high ground. I think we have the moral high ground right now. I really do, as far as how we're conducting. I've actually been pretty proud of our country and the conservative side as far as how we've handled everything with a lot of forgiveness. And we'll get to Erika Kirk in a minute and talking about that. But look, if she's able to forgive the shooter, I'm pretty cool being able to forgive. She's obviously a heck of a lot closer than any of us are to Charlie, and if she can do that, then I think the rest of us can cool it and be able to try to change the culture and not just react the same way and do the little tit for tat. Firing back and forth at each other.
You suck.
Not literally, guys, chill. Well, on their side, maybe a little bit literally, but on our side, as far as just being like, oh, well, now we're canceling you because you canceled. It's like two little kids being like, I hate you. No, I hate you. Yeah. So it's not productive to our society. It's not helpful to our citizens to have governments that, when they get in and out of power, just do that to each other. That's very divisive. It never allows us to get to the root issues of what affects America and what is good and bad.
I think that goes for a lot of things.
I mean, like, yes, I'm not saying he was supporting it, but it felt very. There was a lightheartedness
stab
to the
a little stab at us.
Yeah, so I don't think that that should be supported, but at the same time, I think it should be privately pulled by ABC. I don't think the government should try to regulate that necessarily. I think that I wish that we could both come together and agree that shootings are wrong. It seems that people don't take that side, so I don't have much else to say to that. I just think that right now it's not good for the FCC to try to do that.
I want to play one more video. This was his quote-unquote apology. I'll throw that up right now, and then we can talk about it.
But I do want to make something clear because it's important to me as a human, and that is, you understand that it was never my intention to make light of the murder of a young man. I don't think there's anything funny about it. I posted a message on Instagram on the day he was killed, sending love to his family and asking for compassion, and I meant it, and I still do. Nor was it my intention to blame any specific group for the actions of what it was obviously a deeply disturbed individual. That was really the opposite of the point I was trying to make, but I understand that to some that felt either ill-timed or unclear, or maybe both. And for those who think I did point a finger, I get why you're upset. If the situation was reversed, there's a good chance I'd have felt the same way. I have many friends and family members on the other side who I love and remain close to, even though we don't agree on politics at all. I don't think the murderer who shot Charlie Kirk represents anyone. This was a sick person who believed violence was a solution, and it isn't. Ever. And also, selfishly, I am a person who gets a lot of threats. I get many ugly and scary threats against my life, my wife, my kids, my coworkers because of what I choose to say. And I know those threats don't come from the kind of people on the right who I know and love. So that's what I wanted to say on that subject. But I don't want to make this about me because, and I know this is what people say when they make things about them, but I really don't. This show is not important. What is important is...
So you guys just saw his apology with his almost fake tears. It was really just awkward. What do you think about this? And I also just like, what do you think about just in general, like social media, like YouTube apologies, all of that? Like, what are your thoughts on just all of that garbage?
Fake news, everyone. I think it's kind of ridiculous. I've never been a fan. I'm like, well, just okay, own up to it if you want, but don't come with your fake tears and all that. Like, you're not crying. You don't care. You're not sorry. And that's kind of how I feel about Kimmel in this situation. Yes, am I biased? Absolutely. I just think, in this case, absolutely. And rightfully so. No one's going to tell me otherwise. But I also think in this case, I really just do believe this sounds quite fake. Like, the man's, like, almost fake crying. And I say almost fake crying because that literally is what it looks like. It looks like he is trying to cry.
He's like chopping the onions before he goes on stage.
Yeah, he was doing everything, pinching himself. I don't know, dude. I just think that
I think after
it looks
this,
fake to me. It looks very forced.
It does, and I think what my question is, like, I think his whole show's been poor acting. But he, I think this felt more like a, just give me my show back, please. Yeah. And Disney did technically reinstate him, right? And yeah, I think it's now down. It's up to
the apology.
Yeah, and then I think the stations are the ones that can decide if they want him back on their air or not, right?
Yeah.
And I think this is really forced. It feels like he's just begging for his show back just to not get in trouble, and it feels pathetic. It really does.
Yeah.
It feels like he's trying to just make the people happy, I guess. I don't know. It didn't really work for me.
I think it also just feels like he didn't make any true statements here either. He didn't take it back and apologize to Erika. He didn't take it back and say that it was a left-wing radical. He took it back and he didn't take it back. Like, he didn't really take it back at all. He was just kind of like, I don't remember the exact comment.
Sorry, not sorry.
Don't misquote it, but he was pretty much like, I'm sorry it came across as ill-timed or insensitive.
It's like,
and I'm
bro,
like, not ill-timed. It would have been ill-timed no matter
in
when
10 years.
Said it.
Like,
It was just
ill said.
Something that, yeah. No matter when it's said, it's gonna be ill-timed. So it's because it was a lie, right? Like, he's not saying it. But he's not taking back what he thought about it fully. He's instead kind of being like, oh, I'm sorry if I felt ill-timed or insensitive, and I joined with, like, whatever, like, condolences to the family. Doesn't, to me, that's just saying, yeah, it's kind of, I want my show back. It's not without having to actually apologize.
Yeah, it's like
to me,
it's like
an
when your mom
apology is
makes
not
you
just
go
another
hug
lie.
your brother.
That's still
'cause you hit
another
him.
lie.
Exactly. It's like when you like mom's like, go hug your brother, tell him you love him. And it's like whenever you hit him or something when you're a kid and you're just like, I don't want to. It's like that's what it feels like. It's like it's dumb.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, the hugging your brother is quite a bit more productive. But
yeah, but like you get where you're going with
no,
that.
I'm saying it's a lot more productive than what he just did.
True.
I think you need to take it back and not just say it's ill-timed. Say I said the wrong thing. Own up to it. It's not true. He did not get killed by the conservative in the crowd. He got killed by people with literally written on the gun. We pretty much knew it before we actually caught him. I think that you can't make that statement that clashes with reality, right? It's his proposition clashes with what is real. Therefore, it's not true. So it's I don't know, dude. It's a whole new ball game when every news outlet has a different perspective on everything. So
no kidding. And I think that's why we got to be careful. We got to know who we're trusting. And I think we're not getting closer. I'll say that for sure. We're not getting closer at all.
Yeah, and I think we have this, and I actually want to bring it back to this because I've been reading some books by Augustine. One of the books that book is 22 books actually, but I've been reading some like excerpts and stuff from it, is The City of God. And it's really interesting because it's all about how his kind of one of his central ideas is how, and I'm just looking at my notes here, sorry guys, is that it wasn't Christianity that started to collapse the empire, it was paganism, you know? And I think that's important because whenever, and I think I've talked about Lewis with this already, but whenever Lewis talks about like what value is that at some point without God, and I would say without God, Lewis doesn't necessarily specifically say this, but without God, you start to replace certain values with other values. And we see that with the left-wing side, right? Like, we have traditional values where we're like, okay, you should be able to have, all men are created equal, right? Under God, with these immutable laws, and here's how we set up our government in accordance with what we think is best for our country so we can continue to work, to do whatever we do, and hopefully that comes to God, right? But we have these traditional Western values that we associate, right? Like, we know murder is wrong. Now, it seems like, though, when you have people in power, and this is what Lou starts to see out, they start to kind of conform other people to their values, right? Humanity makes up its own values in absence of God. And so that we've seen that. And I think that's something I've been trying to get at, is we have a very subjective truth in America where I can't remember who quoted this, but someone said that almost every student that walks onto a college campus has some idea that truth is relative to them. So they're all going to have a different idea of what truth is. You can't run a society or a country based on a subjective truth. It just doesn't work that way. And so then we see that, right? That's what Augustine gets at, is, look, in the city of man, you have these values that get replaced. You have this paganism. You go to every other thing except God, and then look what happens. You start to crumble. And so that's what I'm going to point back to this every single time we probably do a podcast, because I really want you guys to understand the redemption it can offer. But city of God, when you live according to his will, it's not... I guess the quote would be kind of the accept the truth and the truth will set you free. And people are kind of like, well, how does the truth sets you free from a lie? You're living in a lie right now if you're not accepting God. I'm just being honest. I am if I don't. I'm not. This is not me pointing the finger at everyone else and not pointing it at myself. But if you're not accepting God, you're still living in that lie. And so I mean, we're all sinners. Sets you free from that lie. And so that's what I'm trying to get people to come back to, because that reestablishes that value and order and will that Augustine talks about in his city of God versus the city of man. Exactly. So I think that's really important to get back to. And again, I know I say it every episode, and I'm going to keep saying it every episode, because that's how important it is to America. And Charlie understood that. I
think it's not even just necessarily important to America. I think it's important to the whole world, and I think
take a sip of C4.
And I think that we're all sinners, right? We all fall short, and I think that if you aren't a Christian and you don't have that strong truth to rely yourself on to base your identity in, I highly recommend you go look into it. I mean,
then you're going to be shaped a different way, though, right? Without that,
Exactly.
you're going to be shaped a different way, and therefore you're going to approach life a different way. If
And
you
so-
approach life with no grounding in moral truth,
Then that
then
gets
there's
into
a
what
heck of a lot of
Charlie
different roads
argued
you
for.
can go on. You
Exactly,
know?
and that's what Charlie argued for, because he's like, when he's arguing on things like abortion, like that's the main point he uses this in, is like what's considered murder. Then they're like, whatever, they say whatever they want, and then he's like, but why do you believe in that? If you're not a Christian, then what's your moral standing that you believe that murder is wrong? It's morality, but where does morality come from? It comes from,
and they can't answer that.
a higher
if you notice,
exactly.
they can't answer that.
They just kind of
It's well, they're the only argument really you can make is, well, culturally throughout human history, we think it's wrong, or they might argue, well, human rationality to kill another rational being is wrong. Exactly. Those are the only real two arguments you can make, but really those are just properties of Imago Dei, right? We understand that it's wrong intrinsically somehow because we are made in the image of God, and we have some grounded understanding that murder should be wrong. I think people who can't answer why just kind of still believe it's wrong just because they have that natural little built-in piece that's kind of like, it should be wrong. You know what I mean? Like there's something that intrinsically kind of understands that murder is wrong, but cultures where it's not wrong, they don't always see it that way, right? We see that throughout history. And so it is how you're taught if you don't have God. And then if you're not somehow taught, there's no way to teach that murder's wrong. There really isn't without God. So I want you guys to keep those kind of things in mind, as Jacob's saying. Jacob made a really, really good, strong statement there. I just think that if you don't have God, you don't have that answer. If you don't have that answer, you're really just relying on a kind of fragile, shaky, I kind of believe killing another rational creature is wrong. That's not good enough.
Exactly.
Like, where does that come from? You still can't give me a source. So,
and then when this happens, we see something that Tyler Robinson does. That's that's the reason that's what happens when we don't have something.
That's why we so emphasize that value in that return to American traditional values. And again, Charlie understood that very well, and that's what he argued for. If you go back and kind of look at his arguments, you kind of see that underlying tone of what he's fully trying to get at, with God being the eternal moral standard. So I encourage you guys to go watch his videos, kind of look for that as he talks. But I think it's probably time to move on from our debate here and instead kind of go into the memorial that happened on Sunday. Really powerful, really cool.
Yeah, it was awesome to see a lot of cool speakers. I'll actually run you down some of the bigger name speakers, and then we can talk about just our thoughts and what Erika Kirk said at the end there.
Yeah.
So I'll just run you down real quick. We got Tucker Carlson, Donald Trump Jr., Tulsi Gabbard, Pete Hegseth, RFK Jr., Marco Rubio, Erika Kirk, J.D. Vance, Donald Trump, Benny Johnson spoke as well. Those are some of the more notable names there. We got some U.S. People in government. We got some YouTubers. We got some podcasters. We got
a good variety in there.
We do.
And some really, really good people. We also had one of Charlie's kind of mentor, father
Mikey,
figure. He's pretty cool.
Frank Turek.
Yeah, I have read his I Don't Have Enough Faith to Be an Atheist. Excellent book.
He also has he has a podcast by the same name.
Yep.
He does really good stuff. I'll actually link it in the description. He did some good stuff. He had a lot of he's done a lot of stuff on his channel, just talking about Charlie and stuff like that. And he was actually the one that people were thinking that he was a part of the shooting because he was the one that moved his hat right beside Charlie. And he was like,
probably not.
I was like, you've got to be kidding. This would be like a 20-year operation if that was true. I was like, there's no way.
This man has been somewhere.
It's like Charlie's not even born and he's somehow planning this.
Yeah,
like,
he's been.
Just stop.
Not to mention a very strong Christian and definitely not a believer in this kind of violence. Good guy. I mean, I don't I don't know him like personally, but based on his book, based on how I've seen him, it's been he does a really good job. So I guess I would say speakers like that. I will say, I'm just gonna be honest. I have a few notes.
Okay.
First one is I really, really, really honestly liked the first half, and obviously Charlie's pastor also spoke, and that was probably the most important as far as we had the biggest, and everyone shared the gospel a little bit. Super happy about that. The technical full first message where like it's very just presented that way is it just directly like his purpose was to speak the gospel fully. Biggest most like it reached This is the gospel message, the biggest televised gospel message that we've ever had.
Ever seen. Yeah.
That's actually
and you
crazy.
saw the
That's
thing
amazing.
where he was like, if you're a believer, stay seated. He told believers, stay seated. If you want to accept that gift, stand up, dude. Hundreds of thousands of people.
Wow, I couldn't see the.
You couldn't, but Frank
Only
Turek
saw
actually
the-
talked
yeah.
in his podcast, and he said that he
okay.
looked around and saw like hundreds, maybe even thousands of people standing up.
Wow, that's awesome.
Which was, and they put up a QR code, so it wasn't like you were just like, you're saved now. Be on
yeah,
your, you know,
yeah.
They
Hopefully
actually give
they
them
get Bibles
something
out and
to.
stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, they just need to
it
go
was
back to their
insane.
local communities too, find church and whatnot.
I
But
think that
that's
was-
harder to do as our memorial
Yeah.
part.
Yeah.
But yeah, super good speakers overall. I think the next note I have, I was surprised, and here's the thing: if you guys watch that memorial, you're gonna notice something very clearly off the bat. The people that talk about the people, it feels, and maybe this is as a Christian, but I think it's for everyone. There's a weightiness to it. It feels powerful. And then the people
Genuine.
anyone
Like,
that comes
genuinely
on
wants
just
you
to
to-
speak about politics, it feels so frail.
It
When
does.
they do, it really does. And so that's my note. Aside, you guys can make that own decision.
I
My
agree
other
with you. It
thing-
felt genuine. It felt like they really
yeah.
wanted to share this with you. It wasn't just like shove it down your throat. You know, it was actually
yeah, and
wanting
it felt
to show you something.
felt way more powerful. But then when they talk about politics, it felt very weak. It felt very
Trump on his little.
It just didn't. Yeah, we'll talk about that in a second. My other note, and I do want to hear your thoughts on this, is the coolest thing that may have come out of this in some ways. Not okay. I shouldn't say that. A lot of cool things come out of this. Something cool or personal impact for me was seeing the politicians get up there and talk about their faith. Because again, I talked about the weightiness between the politics and the gospel's felt so much more. I thought, it was we got to the second half, the politicians are coming up, and to some degree,
You're
I
like,
was
oh boy,
why are they
here we
there?
go.
You know what I mean? There's a part of that, but then you see them get up and they are talking about how they have never talked about their faith this much, and they're gonna take, and I was just like Vance said that, like I've not mentioned it this many times, and then I think I hope they take that and they just implement it into their work every single day. But just to see them all get up there and be like, you're right, this is what I believe, and I'm gonna have the confidence to say it and to bring it into my work. So I just want to hear your thoughts. I thought it was really cool to see.
Oh yeah, 100% agree. It was awesome to see. It was definitely gutsy. After seeing someone that's doing this, you're like at his funeral, and you're still speaking up. It's pretty cool to see. I think that's a good way to honor Charlie.
Yeah.
Tons of people that you would have never thought of said this kind of stuff on a public stage are going out and saying, yeah, I believe in church, I believe in God, I want you to believe it as well. And like things, crazy numbers that are hearing this. Like, and I want to say another, like, I'll answer your question. I was like, I think it's really cool. I think it's really, again, I hope they implement into their work. I hope this isn't just saying this just because I'm at a Christian's funeral, I mean, I think I would have liked to see Trump say something.
Yeah.
In that regard, he hasn't publicly really stated anything like that yet.
He's made some passing comments. It's hard to know
comments,
where he stands.
but
Again, I think another thing this has shown me, because of how I've had to respond to some people, even in my classes and stuff through online, like, I'm not going to judge whether someone's Christian or not. I'm not going to go there. I could, right? Like, I could make that assumption based on some evidence I have, but it's not worth judging someone else like that. So I'm not going to say whether he is or not, because he might be very firm in some belief or another, but I think he does. I would hope that he does have some guidance in, well, then here's how
he's definitely
think, right? I don't know.
He's definitely, like, I think there's no way that he survived that shot last year without some sort of
God
hand
can
from
help
God.
him. I don't. It's hard to know. Sometimes God still helps people, though, even if they.
Yeah.
You don't know, right?
He might not necessarily.
I mean, Charlie had God. God's let him. Let him die.
I think
so
exactly. But I think it's cool because I want to talk about there is a cool millions upon millions of people have seen Charlie's message since this happened. Like I saw a video. It was a post from I don't know who it was, but it was the other day. It was like a picture of Jesus and the picture of Charlie, and it said Charlie said, I don't think Charlie would actually have said this, but like the idea was Charlie was saying, why would you take me now?
Yeah.
He was like, I have so much more to give. And then Jesus said, no, you gave us this would have this
sparked
put out
the
more
revival.
than you would have ever given in your
Yeah,
whole life.
this has made it bigger. As much as I hate it, I loved what Charlie was doing. I loved seeing him talk, but it made way bigger impact. You know what I mean? It made a way bigger impact.
Like, I hate to
really,
say
than Charlie
that
could ever
because-
have gotten to.
Yeah, I hate to say that because I loved watching him. A lot of people did. But dude, tens of millions of followers on Instagram, millions on YouTube, millions on X, millions on whatever other TikTok, whatever. And people are seeing this online. I think they had 100,000 people live watching that memorial on TPUSA's channel alone, which is absolutely insane.
Yeah.
I think that it's awesome to see, and I hope that this does bring about more questions, even if people are just asking, you know. I think it's awesome to see.
Yeah,
And
I did too. I think that this has sparked a massive. I think this will continue sparking and sparked a massive revival in our country. So I don't want to make it sound like everything bad. We have a lot of good people. A lot of people are going back to church. A lot of people are going back to follow Christ. And I think that it was just cool to see our politicians talk about it. It was cool. It was cool to see them take a stance in that. It was cool to see all the other speakers speak. I know also the president of Hillsdale spoke. If you guys don't know what Hillsdale College is, that was the only college that Charlie actually liked. And I don't know if you saw, but yeah, only
That's a
college he
first.
actually liked. So Hillsdale, they have a bunch of online courses. I know we're not sponsored by them, but I would encourage you guys to go check this out.
Yeah.
They're online
I know
courses.
Brett's been sponsored by them before. I
Yeah,
think
Hillsdale
Benny
does a
possibly has.
great education system, very much more classic education system.
Respectful.
I don't know if you saw the president's speech, or the president of Hillsdale's speech, but he said, Charlie would. Well, I think it was him that he said Charlie would send a text with a notification of him completing one of their online courses, and he sent that text to him 31 times, which I think was at the time how many total classes you could take. So yeah, Charlie loved.
Sorry, I got distracted. I accidentally hit my camera. Trump. I was a little disappointed in that. People. Yeah, that's what I was supposed to say. I was gonna say we're over with that. Charlie's more important. It wasn't even a sneak peek. It was a full movie, dude. I didn't even hear much on it. It was supposed to be like 2 days ago, wasn't it? Exactly. And it was so funny because he was like, right, I'm so good. But it's pretty much what he said. And I think it was so funny because he tried to bring it back with like, Charlie would have been there. He would have loved it. And then I was like, oh, he's going to bring it back to Charlie. And they kept talking about autism, dude. I was like, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. That's funny. Oh my gosh. Man. It was awesome. Erika Kirk, dude, I think it was really cool to see that she forgave him. That takes a lot of strength. I really think that wasn't even. I think that's not even human. Honestly, I think that was the grace of God, which is I don't want to forgive him. I'm not even close to him. You know. I'm like that's crazy. And I think we're running out of time here today, guys. But I want to go into the Erika Kirk thing a little more eventually. We'll be back tomorrow. Yeah. So Monday we're gonna be talking about. I want to talk about a little bit of Erika Kirk. We're gonna be talking about the Dallas ICE shooting, and then what was our other topic we were talking about? The autism. Yep. Sorry, I don't remember, bro. I didn't get enough information, you know. Like nobody told me, you know. It wasn't like I watched Trump yap for 40 minutes. All right, guys. Thanks for watching us yap for 40 minutes, guys. Aiden, anything else you want to say? And Jimmy Kimmel is somehow still in the air. Yeah, he gets to a good. That's the goal. Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next video. Peace out.